You mentioned Baldinger. He was also asked, what's wrong with the Browns offense? This again from the Rich Eisen show with Andrew Siciliano filling in.
This offense is built around running the football, and obviously Nick isn't ready to go yet. They obviously Wyatt Teller, losing Wyatt Teller, Ethan Pochik, like that. Those are really good players. I thought over the last 4 years, especially with Bill Callahan as the offensive line coach, I thought Batonio, Pochik, and Teller were as good as anybody in this business. At just they had rotating tackles, but interiorly, whoever was running the ball, Kareem Hunt, Nick, whoever, like they cut defenses up and chop defenses up as well as anybody, and that's just not happening right now. And so that's so a big part of what made that offense successful, even when Flacco was there last year, was that interior. That's not there. And look, you look at the game tape from last week. I mean, you can only help your quarterback out so much. They're running crossers in the middle of the field against Washington last week. I mean, whether they're in man or zone, that's your read. That's where your eyes go. And Washington completely blew the coverage. And Jerry Jeudy's wide open, and he's waving at his quarterback, who isn't looking down the field, and he's reading the rush, and he sacks himself, and he gets hit hard. I don't know what he's looking at right now.
And Jacob, we've talked plenty about Watson. The beginning part of that is perhaps more concerning. I used to think this offensive line being physical, and I was concerned early in the year, even preseason. I'm like, man, there's a lot of guys that are up there in years. I don't know what it is, but this offensive line is no longer physical. They just aren't.
Yeah, it does seem like a very passive group. They don't really seem to like Wyatt Teller, the stuff that you really enjoyed with him. And I know he's on IR right now, but you loved watching him pull and just be a mauler and knocking people over. And Posick just it's not there, that fire from him. I know he's been a little bit banged up as well. And Botonio the Father Time seems to be catching up with him a little bit after having some back issues last year. And it's just you just aren't there isn't anything special about that the interior after it was so special for the last handful of years. And I know it kind of struggled last year, so I'm not 100% on if it's Bill Callahan leaving, that kind of thing, just because I think there was a lot of struggles last year. But for whatever reason, this group, they're not moving people in the run game consistently, and they're just not being able to pick up like the simple twists and stunts, and they're just not like communicating, I think, is one of the biggest issues. And people are then going unblocked both in the run game and the pass game, and they're just not on the same page. And as a result of the lack of physicality and lack of communication, it's one of the worst units in football after being one of the strengths for several years.
All right, this is from the Bleacher Report. One thought on every NFL team entering Week 6. And Browns. I get the feeling the Browns want to give Deshaun Watson some time to work with Nick Chubb, whose return could be imminent. Will not play this week. We'll get into that in a minute. When the struggling quarterback continues to fail to deliver under those circumstances, the organization's hands will essentially be tied. I know the team is beat up, but you'd need 6 All-Pros to make this offense look like we thought it would.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to have we just talked about the lack of physicality in the run game from that offensive line. And I know Nick Chubb erases a lot of missed assignments with his ability to cut back and with probably the best vision in football that I've seen in forever. And what he can kind of do is really special. But, when you've got a quarterback that just cannot see the field and cannot diagnose defenses, I don't know that a running back makes that much of a difference. And I love Nick Chubb, but he's never really been that involved in the passing game. So yeah, he could take some burden off of Watson's shoulders and what he can do on the ground. But if they continue to just completely load the box because he's not getting vertical in any way, shape, or form, I'm not sure how big of a difference it would make.